know if I've heard that. That's I guess an older one.
Well, it's interesting. So I went and saw him in concert at Caesars and last week in Vegas, and they sang it. And I kind of got the impression it was like some new material they were working on. They were going to release it, but they hadn't released it to the public yet. But then I Googled it, and it's on an album. They had it in like 2016 or something like that. So anyway, that was pretty cool.
You know what? I guess I didn't realize that Garth Brooks is in Vegas.
He is. He's doing like a residence thing where he's there like 4 nights a week type thing.
Which hotel is he in?
He's at Caesars.
Okay, you said Caesars.
And it's pretty cool because it's like Garth plus one, and you really don't know who the plus one is. But we were there for the opening weekend, and for the opening weekend, it was Trisha Yearwood.
Okay.
So she sang two of her songs, and then they sang like 3 duets together. It was really cool.
So it's his opening weekend as far as his Vegas tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You know, sometimes I just realize how I will follow pop culture to a certain degree.
Right.
And then, but like when someone, like Garth Brooks, he's a great example, where I feel like, you know, I followed the news. He did the whole what was his name? Something Gaines, right? That was his alternate ego.
His alter ego, yeah.
And then he just kind of like disappears.
Yeah.
And like actors. And so sometimes I would feel like, oh, well, I guess they're just not doing work anymore. They're retired.
Yeah.
And then I'll go out to Vegas and I realize I'm a moron because that person, like a Celine Dion or I'm trying to think of what's his name? Usher, I think does stuff out there.
Really?
And you're kind of like, well, that's why they're fat, dumb, and happy just doing their shows in Vegas, and it's probably fun to do like a new concept, like bring in a new star. Yeah. Why not, right? And spice it up. But then I'll realize that I'll just feel stupid that, oh yeah, that person's been in Vegas for 10 years, and like what?
Well, I saw where Billy Joel today was going to stop doing his Madison Square Garden type tour or something like that. So I didn't realize he's been playing in New York City all this time, right? So
right,
but yeah, there's like Adele is out there. But, you know, Garth stopped. You know, there's a special on Garth Brooks that I watched, which is pretty good if you're a Garth Brooks fan. Mm-hmm. But it talked about how someone else was raising his girls at some point in his life, and he just quit touring and quit doing music and tried to participate more in their life until they got to a certain age.
Yeah.
And then went back out on tour. And I think when he went back on tour, it was like, I wonder if anyone's going to come see me. Or I think it made like $350 million or something ridiculous. He sold out every stadium tour he did. But so I don't know. I guess he still got it. So.
And isn't it interesting? This just occurred to me yesterday. You remember Dawson's Creek, or I'm sorry, Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yeah, yeah.
And James Vanderbeek. Was he in that or Dawson? Maybe I'm mixing up. Maybe he was Dawson's Creek.
I don't know.
I think he was Dawson's Creek. But, you know, he's one of those late 90s, I don't know, teenage heartthrob type actors. And I just happened to see he posted something on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you look at like this, like social media and the YouTubers, the social media influencers, they're arguably started, or they're people that weren't famous, and now they're famous.
Right.
But now you're seeing the famous people also now do exactly what normal people do.
Right, yeah.
Normal people meaning everyone's trying to be getting a bunch of followers, be the next big thing, go viral. And it is interesting at times when you're like, oh, wow, this is like Reese Witherspoon or James Vanderbeek, and there's several of them are just I guess they don't necessarily have to do that, and maybe that's a way to try to revitalize their career, or they just enjoy it. But it is interesting at times now where it's like this blending, right? Or more actors are doing commercials.
Right, yeah.
Like Matthew McConaughey or Morgan Freeman will just narrate a commercial. Like that's got to cost a lot of money to pull someone
like what
like
Ben
that.
Affleck's doing the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Right?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, just things like that.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by TPG. TPG is the founder of the quality assurance industry and most known for the tagline, "This call may be monitored for quality assurance," which they brought to the call center market more than 26 years ago. They dominate the market with an internationally recognized client base of Fortune 500 brands. They have created the quality standards used by their clients and have defined 307 attributes that they measure to define a great conversation, including complex concepts such as skills associated with empathizing and rapport building with customers. For more information on TPG, visit them at tpginc.com. So, it's interesting. This is the Our Town podcast. We are up. It's kind of an informal start to the show, and I've got David Anderson here, president of Invariant Corporation. And we were just a little bit kind of talking about marketing, right? Where I was going to say, well, Ben Affleck's doing a thing with Dunkin' Donuts, and what a great marketing idea, right? To use someone famous like that, you pull up to a Dunkin' Donuts, and he's working the drive-thru, right?
Yeah.
Or McDonald's or whoever. And so shout out to Morgan Vick and Flourish. They're the ones who referred me to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we met several months ago, just as kind of a introductory type discussion. Try to meet with guests beforehand and try to get a feel for the guest, and you get a sense of who I am. And we talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Take some notes, and then I probably forgot a lot of what we talked about 6 months ago. But I just want to make sure that I give them a quick shout out. And how did you? Are they doing work for you now, or is that something they just did a campaign for you in the past?
No, they are. Yeah, they're still doing work for us.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great. They're great to work with. Really looking to try to get more brand awareness out there. It's like, Invariant Corporation. Who are y'all? Had never heard of you before. So they really support us in trying to market more social media, brand awareness, but then also support us with videos, newsletters, press releases, and things like that. So there's really a number of things they support us on, and they're a really, really good partner, just trying to get more brand recognition out there. So
yeah, that's awesome. I had Megan on. So this is going to be episode 68, I believe.
Okay.
And she was episode 31.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot has changed since then, but she's just one of those, how sometimes you come across people, whether that's personally or professionally, and you just kind of maintain contact, and Flourish has been great. And not only just Megan, but her whole team, and following up. And actually, I think Morgan may have hit me up twice.
Yeah.
Since you and I first met, just to say, hey, when are you going to have David
get this
on?
guy on there, It's like,
I'm like, he's chomping at the bit. I'm like,
yeah, no, they're great. They've got a tremendous amount of energy, and they really seem like they care. They really want to try to help, small businesses get their name out there and help them out. And they're very passionate about it and seem like they really care. So that's always exciting to be involved with people like that.
I want to go over and just do a courtesy and have the people that are working on their building finish their parking lot.
Oh, really? I haven't been there. They had like an open house, and I was out of town or something. I didn't have the opportunity to go over there, so I haven't been over there yet.
They're in a sweet spot because it's that diagonal from like where Toyota Field is, and where like Prohibition is.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
you should see their diagonal. So they're on Madison Boulevard, on the north side of 565, and the black building, 7800.
Okay.
And when you drive by it, you see the big number, 7800.
Yeah.
And they've just taken over like the entire floor, 6th floor, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good location out there. There's a lot going out there.
Yeah,
going on in town, Madison, all the building, all the baseball team, and now on the south side, because we've always been, Invariant's always been on the south side. We've always had our headquarters there. It's great to see Joe Davis Stadium, being utilized now by the Huntsville Football Club, and so that's exciting.
Yeah, you're at the Freedom. What did they call it? Freedom Plaza? Is that the name of yours?
It's like the buildings out front, which are the like old originally Nichols Research buildings, are like the Freedom Center. And so then they built another building behind that, and now we're in a building at 4040 Chris Drive, which is just behind that facility. So we're there. We moved there about 2 years ago. From the building out front, closer to the Parkway that Freedom has. And so we've got like about 27,000 square feet there now, and now we're adding another 24,000 in that same building. So we're building that out, adding a number of new offices, and then a lot of new lab space. We've been doing a lot of additional work that requires optics labs, electronics labs, and things like that. So really excited. We'll be in that space. It's supposed to be finished the end of July, so we hope to be in that space in August of this year. And so that's exciting.
So let's do a quick tail of the tape on Invariant in the sense of how many employees do you have right now?
So we just celebrated 100 employees. So we're like just over 100.
So smart growth.
Yeah, it's been slow growth. It's been smart growth, and that was kind of our model. We never were interested in growing too quickly. We wanted to always grow the right way. We wanted to get good personnel, smart people, and grow in that manner. And we've been really successful in doing that. We've really built up an incredible group of folks, highly talented, motivated, and just really a great group of people to work around. So it's we've been in business we started in 2001.
Pre 9/11.
It was pre 9/11. It was May of 2001, so just a few months before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And myself and Brett Gossage and Brent Spears founded the business. And but yeah, it's been really good. So.
I was going to bring up the website real quick and just show that page because this is important to the story. There it is. So there's in picture now. There's Brent, your fellow co-founder. Right. Now Brett is now retired or
so Brett
an emeritus.
Gossage, he has stepped back a little bit. He's in not really retired. He's like part-time now. So he still stays involved. He was from a lot of the software that developed in modeling simulation aspects that he contributes. He still participates in that. Mm-hmm. So he's still with us.
Somewhere I had to. I know on your website's awesome, where Brett is featured. Talking about something, so that's where I at least picked up on how he's kind of stepped away.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, is he just? Well, let's pause there because you've mentioned a few things, and I really want to key in on the starting of Invariant.
Yeah.
And it goes for the three of you, Brett, Brent, and David. It goes back to not only Nichols, but then was it ERC before that?
So it was Nichols Research originally. And if you do any research around town of different owners of different companies, there's a lot of tie back to Nichols Research. It was really a fantastic company, a lot of good people there, a lot of good engineers and physicists and scientists. So but anyway, we started working together in the 90s at Nichols Research.
Is that the right one there where it was located? You see that? They had about 2,000 employees and incorporated in 1976.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Off of Memorial, and I guess at one point you guys were on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, they went public, and then eventually they were purchased by CSC.
Okay.
And so I had already left at that point. So then I went to Nichols, or I went to ERC.
Okay.
And then Brett and Brent also went to ERC. So us three.
You knew each other at Nichols.
We knew each other. We worked closely at Nichols, and then all three of us went to ERC. And we were doing support on the Arsenal for the Redstone Test Center, and working in some areas of high performance computing, optical scene projection type work. So it was really cool work. I was over there about 3.5 years, and some of our old customers from Nichols Research were kind of reaching back out to us and say, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Can you help us with this or that?" And so that's really when we decided to just form Invariant to go back and support some of the customers back in the lab that's now AVMIC under DevCom under the Army Futures Command.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of our original customer working on some of those projects, some of those systems over there. And so yeah, that was good. Really wanted to start a business where we could be heavily employee focused, not necessarily worry about share price or anything like that, but just be more employee focused, and then really focus on the technology and just kind of find cool work to do and work on that. So yeah, it just turned out really well for us. Yeah.
So I was just talking with somebody about this the other day. So I came from the Intel community and much more. So the thing I love about Huntsville is it's been new for me because it's so much hardware. There's a lot of hardware engineering and innovations, hardware in the loop, right? It's different than kind of just traditional IT systems development, which I'm sure I know you guys are big in software, but really working with customers just on big data problems. It's just data, right? And there's infrastructure that your stuff sits on and all that, and ingesting and building applications and stuff like that. But it's different down here. And so, but at the same time, and this is where I want to spend some time on this. So you, Brett, and Brent know each other, and I've seen this happen so many times where 2-3 people work at some company, and at some point they kind of sit back and they say, we should just do our own thing.
Yeah.
Why are we working for this company and on this big contract? Because basically all we really get from them. And everybody struggles with this. This is not necessarily an indictment. It's just the reality. All we really get is paid by this company that we work for.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking ill of Nichols or anything like that, but there's conversations that take place amongst friends at work. We're like, hey, we should just go out on our own, we've got these relationships with these customers, or we know this, or maybe we're being held back by our own management on pursuing an angle or an option, right, that we could pursue.
Right. Yeah.
And we could really exploit, these relationships. But so can you at first just kind of talk about that, I don't know, that friendliness between you, Brent, and Brett, and how you kind of got to a point of like trusting, like, hey, I want to go in business with these guys. I mean, what was that day-to-day really like?
Yeah, again, we had worked closely at Nichols Research on a day-to-day basis, right? So we knew each other. We had unique strengths, as far as I'm an electrical engineer, and then Brett was more, and he's actually a biology major and was more of a physicist and scientist, and then Brent was like a computer software, and so it was really a good mix.
Good complement.
We had complemented each other very well as it relates to, some of us did software, some did hardware, some did a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're both great guys. So from a trust perspective, there was never a question about that. We worked together for several years. And
you saw each other being stressed out on deliverables and how one another would react under pressure situations.
Yeah, we were always involved in that, and we could see how each other would react, and felt comfortable with being partners in a business like this. And so there's never been, and we've worked well together since then for 22 years, and we've never had any issues like that at all. So again, we complement each other well as far as our expertise, and just saw an opportunity and really felt like that it was a good time to step out and start our own business, and really try to set it up in a way that we could set it up the way we would want a company to be set up as an employee.
Yeah.
And really set up the benefits and the structures and how we run the business, that how if you were an employee you would want to see it done, right? So so kind of taking advantage of maybe the things that other companies that had done that we would maybe disagree with or not have done it if we could have done it that way, and try to take advantage of that.
So we're talking the leave package, your insurance or lack thereof, maybe subsidizing all or some of the premiums, things like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Benefits, profit sharing and things like that. We haven't achieved full employee ownership yet, so that's something we're working on this year and into next year, is transitioning ownership over to the employees. So we're trying to
ESOP program,
what that looks like from a stock incentive program, whether it's an ESOP or EOT, or there's a lot of different ways you can set it up.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's our focus right now from an employee perspective. I think we've tried to do a good job as far as family leave, bonus, profit sharing, 401k, and then the benefits as it relates to medical and whatnot. So trying to be family oriented, understanding that all our employees, their family is the most important thing, and then work is kind of secondary to that. So trying to make sure we instill that value as far as the company values are concerned.
So let's talk about, I want to make a point, but let me set it up by saying this, and this is the exact conversation I had with my colleague at work yesterday, where we were talking about a lot of companies are really great when they start out, and this goes back to the smart growth, right? Yeah. Even after 20 years, you're at 100 people, but I think this is important, where you can have a company start out and there's a good culture and there's 2 or 3 founders and they're all really capable and good at what they do. And then they're going to, maybe in those first few hires, they're able to hire away maybe some more of their friends who were a little bit, didn't want to take the risk. But now that they see that it's set up and there's some stable work, they join, and they're like, okay, so that's good. But then you get to this number, whether it's 10 or 15 or 20, or the type of work, you end up maybe chasing things that really depart from the whole reason you started the company, was to really stick to that core competence, right? Or that goal, which was to be different. And then you end up chasing work and somewhat putting people into like, hey, wait a minute, I thought I was going to get to do this or that. Like, yeah, but we got this contract and we have to fill the slot, and it's not really up your alley, but it'll get better. Right. And then you start getting into that growth thing, right? And then you realize, it's just, we have this opportunity to grow and we're getting all these contracts, but then the culture becomes very difficult and it erodes, or it never really even takes form because of that chasing. So I think so the next question is, if after 20 years, 22 years, and you're at 100 people, that seems very smart, very calculated, probably very careful. And if we look at your products, they're amazing. the things that you all do. And I don't know enough around town yet to know where people want to work, but do you feel like you have this reputation where people would jump at the chance that doesn't come around that often to get to work at Invariant and be part of the Invariant family? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it does. I mean, I don't know if I could say that. I mean, there's really, and it's an amazing town that we live and work in, Huntsville. There's just a lot of great companies out there. So I would love for there to be people out there think, oh yeah, my goal is to go work at Invariant. But there's so many other good companies out there that I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Certainly that would be the goal, right? Is to be able to develop a culture in a company and have the people where everyone wants to come and work for you. And I think we do have a good culture. We have a great group of people, and I think we've generated that environment. The challenge growing from 100 to wherever we grow to is always maintaining family values, a good culture within the company, and always having a small business, small company feel, right? Because you don't ever want to get to a point where you lose that. I think a lot of companies grow to a point where it becomes more about revenue. It becomes maybe more about profit or the shareholders in some cases if you go public and things like that. And we just want to avoid that and always maintain an employee-first attitude and maintain that small business feel.
Yeah, I like how I think the lead-in service on your website is like hardware. What is this? Let me just pull it up. Let me make sure. I don't want to misstate it. And then we can look at this together. It might be under custom hardware development.
Custom hardware
number
development.
One.
Yep.
Right? I mean, number one, I think that says it all.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at. The reason I stayed in the Intel community so long was it was super fun.
Yeah.
And every day was different. It was all about mission.
Yeah.
And more, it was funny. You'd lose people to other jobs. They'd go to other industries. They thought they'd be happier. Right. I don't know, selling Coca-Cola or working, I can't, pest control or something lucratively. Oh, there's all this money in it. There's a great opportunity. And they'd always come back. Yeah. Because there's something about supporting the warfighter or supporting, the assets overseas, whatever it is, whatever the mission is, right, or the operation is for particular customers, and then to be asked, "Hey, we need to reach out to Invariant. We kind of know what we need, but we have no idea really how to go about doing it. I heard Dave Anderson and his crew is awesome. Let's have them build it." Yeah. Right? I mean, how does that make you feel when you're sought after that way?
That's probably the most satisfying part of my day is I feel like we have a good reputation in that regard. Yeah. That we are competent, we can get things done, and at the end of the day, we'll deliver. When the customer comes to us with a requirement, we can help form that requirement. We can help identify what that needs to look like at the end of the day, and we can be successful in getting something into the soldier's hand that they're going to actually utilize, and it's going to be useful to them, right? Yeah. So I feel like in all cases we deliver. And that's really important to us. We take it very personally. It's like to put something together and actually see it work, test it, and see it work successfully, and then be able to see it downrange that the soldier using it is very rewarding for all of us at Invariant.
And I would imagine, you've been in business long enough and you have a good reputation that when it comes to like pricing and stuff, like, look, here's what it's going to cost. Right. We have a team. We got to pay them. They have families. We're a business, so there has to be some sort of profit. We're not out here we're going to give you something excellent. Yeah. And we're not here to gouge you. Right. Take it or leave it type thing. Right. And they know if they come to you, they're going to get their money's worth. Yeah. That's my impression of the research that I've done. And then even just talking with you.
Yeah. And I feel that's the case. And that's important. I think we're very agile. So we're a small team. Yeah. So try to keep overhead low. We try to be competitive against maybe some of the other larger corporations that maybe have a little bit higher overhead than we do. Mm-hmm. And so I think that agility aspect of it is beneficial, and we provide a good value to the customer. They get what they want for a reasonable price.
Do you do a lot of, is it more, are they kind of short-term in nature where, okay, you're tasked to build something, engineer something, re-engineer something, deploy it, maybe you have to help, maintain it and do some, I would call it like tier 4 level type stuff, right? You were the OEM, if you will, and you've got to come in and help integrate it or help operate it, and then you step away. Or are you more of that kind of shorter term in duration and just kind of product focused? or do you also have people on these long-term, contracts?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we don't live off like 5-year contracts per se.
Yeah.
We'll get tasked with something that we need to complete within 6 to 12 months and that type of thing.
Okay.
We have some employees on base that may develop a product. It may take 6 to 12 months, and at the end of the day, they deliver it, and that's it.
Got it.
On some other systems, like for one is the containerized weapon system. We do the software integration with that, and then we add hardware to that to generate a capability that's needed. So we call it weaponization of the containerized weapon system, right? So we'll add a Javelin missile up there. So we'll do all the hardware and software required to fire Javelin from CWS, and then we'll add maybe a non-lethal capability, and then maybe we'll add a APKWS laser-guided rocket for counter-UAS capability. And these are all things that we've done. And we'll add Switchblade, the loitering munition that we fire from CWS. So some of those projects will develop a capability. Some will deploy.
That's it right there, right?
It. But the heart of containerized weapon system, and that's our partner with that is HGT Global. But anyway, the heart of that, we worked on that from inception, from the very beginning, working the systems design and the engineering. And then our guys are the field service engineers that are deployed overseas that maintain that system. So there's over 50 of these out there, and our guys are deployed. They go from different sites. They do maintenance. They fix things if they're broken. But in the regard of, from a maintenance perspective, the other thing we do is if there are additional requirements, there's a new capability that needs to be added that would help the warfighter, then we work hard to help add that capability.
So do these containers, it's, I guess, one thing to protect them from being blown up by an adversary, but is it also just weather related and just in general putting it in a container so that it's just protected from any and all adversarial elements?
It's that. From a shipping perspective, you can ship it over as a Tricon.
Okay.
And then when it gets there, you open it up, and then within a few minutes, it can be operational. One of the unique aspects of CWS is it's remotely controlled. So you can drop the Tricon on the wall of some form of base, and then through fiber optic link up to 4 kilometers away, you can actually operate the weapons, the surveillance sensors, and maintain status of the system in a more secure location back in the operations center. So I think that's one of the huge advantages of the system. It's all battery operated with recharge from either solar recharge or shore power, but the operator themselves are in more of a secure remote location. So that's probably one of the biggest advantages of the CWS.
What year was it that came to be? Where and it sounded, you said it was a joint venture, if you will, right?
Right.
But take us back to what year this was inceptualized.
It was probably around the 2011, 2012. There were some versions of it. Earlier than that, there was a larger container that was developed out of the lab here in like the 2009, 2010 timeframe. But the first one was fielded, I believe it was in like the 2013, 2014 timeframe was the first one that was fielded.
Okay. And, going back to the fact that you were founded in May of 2001, I mean, did your business change a lot right away with 9/11 happening and some of the focus or some of what you, I guess, expected to do, and then your customers kind of went in a different direction because now we're entering into a war and CT becomes the number one thing? I mean, talk me through those early months.
Yeah, there wasn't a huge change for us, at least in the early months. I know moving forward, a lot of the products, a lot of the things that we support were deployed to Afghanistan and to Iraq. So certainly there was the effect of 9/11 on the eventual products that we developed and supported and deployed. But I didn't see there wasn't like an immediate shift like day one when that happened.
Okay. And you've been president since the creation of Invariant.
That's correct.
Right? That's
yes.
how that broke out.
Yep.
Okay. One of the other things I really want to key in on is this CGIT.
Yeah.
Let's bring that up, but if you don't mind, I'd like to spend some time on that.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
Let me just pull this up. So it's an LLC.
It is.
Right? And, well, let me show it first where off of the main. So we go to your main website, and up here it says CGIT, and it's the Crime Gun Intelligence Technologies. And my part of this is FireFly,
Right.
which I guess had been created previously,
That's
and
correct,
now is
yeah.
being incorporated in CGIT.
Right.
Can you talk through CGIT, what it is, who you're partnered with, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So our partner, FireFly is a gunshot detection, really a threat detection system that was developed by Hyperion Technology Group out of Tupelo, Mississippi, and Invariant Corporation here in Huntsville. So we developed that as a response to an urgent needs statement for sniper detection for snipers in Afghanistan. So we could have the sensors on the wall, and then we could detect the occurrence of a gunshot event. And then what we would do is we'd pinpoint the actual location of the shooter, and then we could send that as a salute to queue message back to something like the CWS or some type of surveillance system. Then where the shooter was located was in the field of view, and then the soldiers would know exactly where the shooter was. Because sometimes you would hear a gunshot and you wouldn't really have situational awareness to understand where it came from. So that's where FireFly was created. In the 2015 timeframe, there was a serial shooter activity off I-25 north of Denver, Colorado. And the ATF agent at the time, Tim Kelly, contacted the U.S. Army looking for a potential DoD solution through Northcom.
There's FireFly, by the way, while you talk.
To help them identify and locate shooting events so they could quickly respond. And their mission too was to pick up shell casings from an event, and they would run the shell casings through a correlation system, and then what they would try to do is match different crimes to the same individual, because they recognize the fact that there are trigger pullers, they participate in a lot of multiple events. So if you say have 100 shooting events, there may only be about 5 to 10 trigger pullers, right? So they wanted to really focus on who's pulling the trigger, and if they could correlate events, then that would help them in that endeavor, and that's part of their crime gun intelligence philosophy. So anyway, that's where we met. Got involved with ATF, met Tim Kelly, and after he retired, we formed CGIT LLC, which is a partnership that's partially owned by Invariant and Hyperion Technology Group, and Tim's the president, and he's leading that effort. And basically that licenses the FireFly technology for the use by law enforcement agencies. So we sell gunshot detection to different cities in the country, and then they put them up typically on either buildings or on telephone poles in a matrix configuration, and then basically we provide real-time feedback to the dispatch or to the patrol if there's a gunshot event. So it's just another tool that they use that lets them know, hey, a gunshot event occurred here. So it gives them a timestamp and identifies the actual location, and then they can go out there and they can get shell casings, collect shell casings from an event, and then they can match those through like a NIBIN system that does the shell casing matching, and it can start correlating multiple events. That's part of their crime gun intelligence scheme that some of the crime centers use.
So it's sensing or detecting distance and direction back to an area, and then is there some sort of other GPS coordinate on top of that then is providing a mapping of it could have been in this area, or is it that precise?
It's that precise.
Wow.
We did testing like in Colorado Springs. ATF actually went out, and we had ground truth information. They'd go to specific locations and they would shoot from there. And this was something that Phoenix PD witnessed in Colorado Springs and ATF. We had a real-time demonstration where they were running around the cities of Colorado Springs shooting a 9mm, and FireFly would detect the location of the event, display it on a web interface in real time, and then the individuals could see where the shooting event occurred. And in all cases, we had, within a few meters of accuracy, we identified where the individual was that had the gun. So that's really, Phoenix is our biggest customer currently, and that when they saw that, that's where they decided to go ahead and go forward with the FireFly technology.
So is this your brainchild? A lot of what we're seeing here and ultimately in the product FireFly development, the engineering and development design of it?
So this is a combination of our lead, one of the lead engineers working for the lab was Dr. Tim Edwards.
Okay.
So he was kind of the lead from a government perspective.
Okay.
And then it was jointly between Invariant and Hyperion.
Got
it. They have individuals over there. They're kind of acoustic experts. They work closely with different universities and teach courses. So they've been doing a lot of the acoustics work for many years, for over a decade.
Yeah.
So it was really a collaborative effort. Another one of those things where we had very good complementary skills.
Yeah.
From our software and integration capability and some of their hardware and acoustic detection algorithms. It just was a good team. So we worked together supporting that customer.
Yeah.
And we're still working together as a team today.
Are you one of those learners? Like, I'm one of those people that, for some things, I can envision like what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. Someone might describe something and like, oh, I know exactly what we need to do, and I'm the mastermind behind this idea.
Yeah.
Other things I'm much more applied. Someone has to just get me going, and you might see something, and then all of a sudden, then your brain kicks in.
Right.
Because someone's gotten you over the hump of kind of that initial conception. Does that make sense?
It does.
And do you, I guess, like, this is not just on FireFly, but do you feel like, obviously you've hired some great people.
Right, yeah.
But are you more of that applied learner? Have you hired enough great people where you're, for the most part, you're being asked to do so many complex things? You've got your electrical engineer by trade.
Right.
But I guess are you amazed in a way? I'm assuming you're somewhat amazed in the people you've hired that have those initial abilities to work with whomever, get something going, and then you see it, and you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. Some of the people that we have are just amazing, and we've really grown in the area of mechanical engineering, and now we have a machine shop, which is something that's new to us over the last 2 years. So now we're, when we say, hey, we need to mount this to this, and to see what the mechanical engineers design out of that is always really impressive, and they can come up with something quickly, and then we can prototype it, and then we can demonstrate it. And in some cases, then we have it, testing or in the field very quickly. So I think from that agility perspective, that's certainly something where we always want to be. We don't want to lose that niche of being agile and being able to respond to a customer need, right? Because that's what we're good at.
And do you have kind of like a committee of those that are the final sign off on things? Like I know that these go through quality assurance and peer reviews and all kinds of rounds, right, of analysis. But ultimately, is that down to one person or a few people that are the ultimate? Okay, we're signing off on this.
Well, it's typically a few people. I mean, what we try to do is we try to establish project leads, program managers that are kind of the go-to person for any particular project, right? And so that person obviously has a say. And then we have subject matter experts. So there's some of us that have been there a while, have been exposed to a lot of different missile systems and different capabilities. And so we have subject matter experts then that can do peer reviews and whatnot. And in most cases, it's a group effort. We always all want to be on the same page. If you have someone that doesn't like a design or thinks it should be done differently, you want to understand why.
Sure.
Right. Because so in most cases we're of like mind and we agree on things and can move forward with it.
But at the same time, you've built a culture where people are able to voice a dissenting opinion or an alternate view.
Yeah.
Right, and not be throttled for it.
Yeah, I hope so. And that's where we want to be, right? You don't want a bunch of you want people to
yes men or whatever.
You don't want to have a lot of yes men. I mean, I think in a meeting one time I said if I'm full of shit, I want you to tell me I'm full of shit. Right. And I really feel that way because everyone should have a voice. And you really hire smart people so, you can let them do their thing and they can tell you what should be done as opposed to us telling them what to do, right? Because otherwise you completely lose out on that talent. You don't want to get them in a situation where they feel like where they're afraid to voice their opinion or say what they think.
Yeah.
So that culture, to me, is one of the most important things, is for everyone to have a voice, everyone to feel good about voicing their opinion, regardless of what it is, and not be concerned about repercussions of what they may say.
I'm going to show the product list now again from your website, and I want to know which of these is like, this is your baby, or you have the most specialty, or where, like, You care not that you don't care about them all, of course. It's your company, but there's one that really it's like everyone's like, oh, that's David's thing, right? Or
well, not anymore. I think most of these are being kind of passed on to other individuals that have taken ownership of them and are doing a fantastic job. I think we do a lot of work with Javelin.
Okay.
The Javelin missile system. A lot of us at Invariant, we supported Javelin in the 80s before it was called Javelin.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of corporate knowledge in that. And so one of the things that we've done recently, or actually over the last several years, is develop custom hardware and custom software to allow you to fire the Javelin missile off of multiple platforms.
Okay.
And so that's the Mule, the multi-use launch electronics that was up there. So that's a key product line that we have that's doing really well in a lot of different applications. Brian Johnson is the program manager for that. Loki is a Javelin missile simulator, so it allows you to utilize for testing and for training and for launcher verification a capability that emulates Javelin. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really a tool that is in the soldier's hands and is utilized by a lot of people. It's got a really, really cool capability. CWS, Containerized Weapon System. Ryan Lowry's a program manager on that now. And what's unique about that, or what's exciting about that, is we've recently adapted it to fire 275 laser-guided rockets in a counter-UAS mode, and which is very beneficial supporting intercept of Group 2 and Group 3 UAS that they're shooting over in Iran and the Russians have, and a lot of people have different Group 3 drones that they're flying in towards our forces or other people's forces to try to to do different things. So the capability working with other vendors to come up with that capability and incorporate that into containerized weapon system is something we've been working on over the last few years. We've been participating in joint efforts out at Yuma Proving Grounds, demonstrating the capability, and that's gained a lot of traction. So I know you wanted one.
That's all right.
And then FireFly, of course, FireFly. When the Phoenix PD came by a few weeks ago, and they were talking about all the different cases where they've used FireFly to support making arrests and pulling bad guys off the street. I mean, you can't help but feel good about that, and the reward of that is really great. So as we've grown, you mentioned earlier, have we gotten away from some niche things? And we really haven't. We've really expanded, but we're still, where we're building capability, we're building hardware and software that we design from scratch, we take out and test, and then we actually put it into users' hands and actually see it work. And it's very rewarding when you see it work in a positive way.
You wake up excited every day?
Not every day, but
most days?
Yeah, most days.
Yeah, there's other things about running a company, right, that can overshadow all of the great things, right? There's a lot of different stresses on you, and
but we've got a great team. There's a lot of us there. It's a village, so there's a lot of great folks on board that I work with every day. So it is great to go to work. I look forward to going to work and seeing what we do.
I forgot to mention at the very beginning, on your LinkedIn profile, you're holding, I guess, one of your grandchildren, and you have the Strange Noises shirt on, which I have.
Yeah.
From FOW. And this is an Alabama FOW design. I haven't worn this since episode 9.
Really?
You'd have to go back. My memory's still pretty good from episode to episode on what number. My mind works really well with numbers, just numbers and an event. Yeah. So you'll always be number 68 to me, right? And Matt Kroschel, who used to live here, he was a reporter for Way 31. He lives in Colorado now.
Yeah.
He's an news anchor there. And I wore this shirt that episode. But FOW, they had he had a store downtown off of Howe Avenue, and then I guess they just closed it down.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. He works for Redstone Federal Credit Union.
Okay.
And so I was just going to ask, was that a gift given to you, the Strange Noises FOW design shirt, or did you?
My daughter gave it to me.
Your daughter gave it to you.
I get a little bit of abuse for, I think LinkedIn is a professional website, and most people wear a dress or a suit, or they look professional, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're all about family here at Invariant, so I want the CEO and president to obviously be a family guy. So I'm resistant to changing my LinkedIn profile, because it was a time with my granddaughter hanging out at the beach, and I was in a t-shirt, and so Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I saw a guy, a friend of mine I hadn't seen in a while, and on his LinkedIn, he had a picture of him and his wife and his 2 kids. And we were talking about it because, like, yeah, I mean, that's that's
Yeah.
family, right? It's why not show that on your LinkedIn profile as opposed to the more of the business attire. So
Well, and quite frankly, when you have a track record like you do, and the company produces that stuff stands on its own, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very defensible to be like, say whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
I'm helping the warfighter. I'm helping crime. Reduce
Right,
crime. Like I'm good. I'm secure in my Strange Noises T-shirt.
yeah, and I absolutely am.
Other people have to get a little bit more spun up and play the game because they don't have those kind of credentials that you have. That's the way I look at things.
Yeah.
I look at it the same way. Let's talk about interviewing a little bit, and I want to talk about John Montgomery, who's now your COO.
Right.
You just promoted him.
Yep.
Been with the company 13 years, and this was just in April, I believe. This went down.
Right.
But sometimes I used to hire a lot of people. I ran a huge program, similar to kind of running a company, 160 people, and I was a part of just the interview process. Somewhere along the way, with everybody we brought on to that contract,
Right.
there was those of us on the prime contract, of course, and then our subs. But I wanted to meet everybody, get a feel for it. Ultimately, there would be a tech screen for things that were outside of my.
Right.
You know, I wasn't going to do the in-depth interview of a Java developer, for example.
Yeah.
But I would assess character and how would they fit, and maybe how would they interact. I would try to imagine them sitting, amongst a team and that customer, and how would they fare. And a lot of times we would change our mind on someone once we met them or met them a couple times. But there's always that when someone shows up like in a suit, and they never wear a suit, they probably wear it to a funeral and a
Right.
wedding.
Yeah.
Maybe if they ever go to church, maybe once a year, you can just they're very uncomfortable. I want to see people comfortable.
Right.
And let's say you're a software developer, then come in jeans.
Right. Yeah.
Come to me, like I want you to be very comfortable in the way you're talking with me and not uncomfortable
Right.
and nervous
Yeah.
and sweating, and if you're more of a program manager, then come in a suit
Yeah.
because you're going to be in front of a customer. But I don't know if you've seen a lot in your career and the generations that have come and gone and hiring people.
Right. Yeah.
Have you changed at all your impressions on people as you kind of are the company owner and those that you hire, and or how much scrutiny do you put into that?
So as far as what people wear, like in the interview process?
Yeah, like getting away from the judgment and really kind of
Yeah.
focusing in on what is it that they're bringing, and what's the value they're going to bring
Yeah.
to Invariant.
It's hard though. First impressions are important, right? So if someone comes to an interview in t-shirts and flip-flops,
Sure.
yeah, that's going to be my first impression, that they didn't take the time to at least put something respectable on, and
Right.
from an interview process. So it's hard to get away from a first impression. So I think in general, if you go to an interview, you should look professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should not, and wearing a tie nowadays is the most uncomfortable thing in the world,
Right.
right? So I've tried to get to a point. Okay, no more ties, especially in the summertime. But I think it's just a business attire you want. I mean, if you go to an interview, you want to at least look professional. You want to feel good about yourself, and you want to present yourself well. And unfortunately, your first impression is how somebody looks, right?
Right.
So I think that is important. But I'm here in blue jeans. Friday I wear blue jeans, and I never wear a tie, and I'll wear a coat periodically for different things. But I think people being comfortable in their work environment and being casual is a good thing. Sometimes you go into a business development meeting, it's kind of a mixed bag. If you're wearing a suit, someone might think, well, what are you trying to prove wearing a suit,
Yeah.
as opposed to being more casual and wearing just having good business attire. So
Yeah.
I think it's across the board as far as what people think about that. But from my perspective, I think people should look professional but be comfortable.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to even take the time of day. Let's say it's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And someone comes in, I'm probably going to assume they just came from work.
Right.
They didn't want to dress up that one day, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, you're interviewing today?" You
Yeah.
know, and they just came from work. Like sometimes I'll like, okay, just try to put myself in their shoes, and yeah, maybe they could have changed in the car.
Yeah.
That could have been a little bit difficult.
It's funny. I'm almost the other way around.
Are you?
Sometimes I'll wear a coat to where I'm going to interview somebody, because I don't want them to think I'm not wearing what I should, right? So, but yeah, I never looked at somebody in an interview for what they wore and thought it was inappropriate, or didn't hire somebody because of what they wore. In most cases, people come professional or even in blue jeans and a nice shirt, whatever's comfortable. Yeah, that now we're to a point now where that just doesn't matter that much anymore. And especially we've got so many people working remote, and you just see them on a video camera, right? So in a Zoom meeting or something. So
they got shorts on, but they have a
but you don't
business
you
on
don't-
top,
you
party
don't
on the
know
bottom,
that,
whatever it is.
Well, it's okay now for the dog to bark in the background or hear kids crying too on a teleconference, right? So that's no longer unacceptable.
I wanted to have that discussion to kind of purposely not talk about John Montgomery.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that wasn't a part of the founding group. He comes in.
He wasn't, but he was employee 007.
Oh, he was.
So
Okay.
yeah, and we've known him for quite a while.
Okay.
And,
so you knew him before.
He's very proud of the fact that he's employee 007 because there was two individuals that came in at the same time.
Okay.
There are two guys that I've worked with for quite a while. David Poe is the other one. And so they came at the same time. They were hired the same day. And I think John made it a point to get that 007 instead of that employee number 8, right? So there's always been a joke about that, and he's pretty proud of his 007. So he actually left Invariant and went to work for the government for several years.
That makes sense.
And then he came back, and he was like, so our employee number 8 wanted him to lose 007, right, and have to, but we gave him employee number 7 again, so he's still 007. So John's really been again one of the original employees and has really been around for a while. And I think to interview him to come back, the interview process took place at Drake's in an evening. So sometimes we can be pretty informal when it comes to the interview process, especially when it's somebody you know and you're just trying to get them, feel out what do they want to do, where are they going, and what does it look like. So sometimes we're pretty informal on that.
Is there, this probably won't fit then it's one thing if you had already had, I don't know, 50 to 100 employees and John just comes in to interview for a program manager job, and then he ends up being that diamond in the rough, if you will.
Right,
that you end up tapping later as a COO. But is there an employee that you don't mind highlighting that, for the most part was just somewhat run of the mill? You had a slot to or an opportunity to hire someone, and there was a bunch of people that came in and they performed well in the interview, but then they've actually just blown away expectations since the time of hire, and you can't believe what you got out of that person.
Yeah, the person that falls in the category that you described is probably Brent Spears as much as anything.
Really?
It goes back to Nichols Research.
Okay.
So my current partner, we interviewed him. Brett and I interviewed him. We were like department leads at the time. And he was not our first choice. He didn't interview well. He was real quiet, and he wasn't even our first choice. So we picked somebody else, but that fell through. So we hired Brent, and then he's one of the smartest guys I know, and he's the best software developer that I've ever worked around. So from that perspective, Brent would fall into that category of someone that may have not have interviewed well and really wasn't our first choice, but turned out to be the diamond in the rough, as you put it. So
that's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I often wonder if I was in that situation. Like, there's times I felt like I didn't get a job. I came home and told my wife, "Oh man, that was not a good interview. I did terrible." And then 2 days later, they call you like, "Hey, you want to extend an offer?" Like,
are you sure?
Was there something else I said that I don't remember saying that really won them over?
Yeah.
But I just think it's cool. I think what you all do. It's just kind of next level. I don't know if you hear people talk about that. And let me switch to your family just a little bit, and let me ask this. So you said your parents are still alive.
They are.
You've got 3 older sisters.
Yes. And
now you got children that are older. One's in Chicago, one's in Nashville.
Yes.
Are any of them? Are you able to take this work home in a way at all and share it with someone and bounce ideas off?
No.
Or are you're just on a different in a different plane?
Yeah, when it comes to home, I'm on a different plane. That's not really true. My dad, he's 90.
Okay.
And he was a plant manager at Cutler Hammer, which eventually became Eaton. So he was in management the latter part of his career. So from a management perspective and how to run a business and how to treat people, he's always someone I go talk to about that kind of stuff. His best advice to me was just treat people like you would want to be treated. I know that's the golden rule, right? It's a very simple thing, but in reality, that's a good model. But my wife is she was a first grade school teacher, so we absolutely have nothing in common when it comes to going home and talking about electronics or software development and things like that. So.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's probably a good
when
thing.
You think about it, right?
Yeah.
Now, but what about who else? Was there a friend circle or somewhere else in your extended family that you would tend to be able to talk to and they could follow along when it came to FireFly or Loki, and or was that just strictly a work thing?
Yeah, it's pretty much a work thing. I mean, I talked to people at work about it, and I had an uncle one time. He built an electric car back out of a Honda Civic back many years ago, many decades ago, and things like that. And he was a really smart guy, and I could talk to him about things like that. But he passed before I really before we started Invariant. So, but yeah, there's really not somebody from a family perspective. My daughter's a nurse. My son works for Captivate IQ and software company, and so there's no one else in my family that does the same line of work that I do.
So then you grew up in Arab, and is it true? Someone mentioned to me the other day that it originally was supposed to be ARAD. And then they messed up something in the way they registered it.
Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing, right, to bring up on.
I don't know. I just was wondering. I don't remember who I was talking with about it.
So the town was named after Arad Thompson.
Okay,
that's the individual. So the town, and they sent the paperwork in, and they swapped the
D and the B.
D and the B. And then it's like at that point, it's like, oh, well, we'll just keep it. I guess I don't know. But
okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That story's exactly true.
So when you were growing up, did you just gravitate towards engineering? And obviously you became an electrical engineer and you studied that at Auburn.
Yes.
But you were tinkering things where your sisters and your parents were just like, this guy's odd. He's like getting the chemistry set at Christmas and the rest of them are
a little bit.
Not.
It was really more of like, hey, this toaster's broken, let's throw it away. And it's like, whoa, no, let's see if we can fix it. Or so it was really more just always wanting to tinker with things and try to fix things and try to figure out how things worked. And my dad we'd be out somewhere driving, and he would always point things out. And he said, how do you think that works? Or what do you think about that? How do you think they did that? And so he's always trying to challenge me and make me think about things from a technology perspective and how things work. And so I think it was just that aspect of it. That was kind of just the way I was built to tinker and want to play with things and build things and whatnot. So.
Do you think it was he didn't know, or he knew and it was just testing you, or kind of a combination of
the two? I think he knew and he was just testing me in some cases. So they developed it, Cutler Hammer and Arab. We moved to Arab because the Cutler Hammer plant moved from Milwaukee to Arab, and they opened up a plant there. Mm-hmm. They built portable speed control switches for drills, essentially. And I remember one Christmas they brought 3 drills that were battery operated home, and we were playing with them because the battery would burn out after like 3 or 4 uses. And what I didn't know is like that was one of the first battery operated screwdrivers that was ever developed, right? And they were working on the switch and the electronics involved in that to make that work properly. So there was always stuff like that, going on.
Yeah.
That was intriguing. So
what about, did you do like a science fair project or have an opportunity to really kind of showcase this engineering mind?
No, I really didn't. At that point, nowadays they have the robotics class, and they have so many more cool things in high school that kids have opportunity to participate in.
Yeah.
And I was more involved in sports in high school. I played football and basketball and golf, and so I was really more involved in sports than I was anything else, which I think was really good for me because, that working with a group of people, trying to accomplish something that, you didn't think was something you could accomplish, and working hard and practice and things like that, and actually being able to, get through something that you didn't think you'd be able to. And so I think a lot of that is helpful in life in general, being able to just work with a team, work with a group of people, and accomplish something that maybe you didn't think you'd be able to accomplish. So I think the extracurricular activities at schools today are so important in that regard. I probably learned more from some of my team activities and sporting activities in high school than I did in anything else.
Did you guys have some good success at Arab High School?
Not really.
No.
We were kind of 50-50. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What'd you play in football?
I was a tackle, offensive tackle, and
Okay.
defensive end. So I was on the line.
Were you about the same body shape you are now? Or were you?
I was smaller.
Really?
I was a lot smaller then. So
Sometimes you never know. Like some guys are like 350 and then they end up
yeah, I think
losing
in
weight.
my freshman year in college, they call it the freshman 15. For me, it was like the freshman 40. Unfortunately. So yeah, I put on a lot of weight early in college, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've kept some of it. So
What about your golf though? Were you a standout golfer? Or like
I was okay. I was probably like about a 5 handicap,
Okay.
or 4 when I was playing my best. And then my son, we played golf when he was a kid, and he turned out to be a pretty good golfer. So I started living vicariously through him, watching him play golf, and which was a lot of fun. So he got to like about a 2 handicap. So
nice. Do you remember? I know the story of it, I think, but you were here when the Trent Jones Trail was built.
it was
Right?
Yes.
Now, so I've never really asked anybody who's lived in Alabama how aware they were of that. I'm assuming if you were a golfer, you were aware this was all happening. My understanding is like a former doctor, somebody had money. They wanted to build an entire, so the trail systems there are other trails in the country, but it's more of an existing course. All these existing courses might get together and say, hey, we should do this cool concept and have, destination golfers want to come and play our course or our 2 courses and then kind of move on. The Alabama Trail was highly unique in that they designed all of them for the most part. There's been some exceptions at the same time and built at the same time and opened up, I guess, presumably about the same time.
Yeah.
And so therefore you have a consistent look and feel and experience as you move from as far north from the Shoals all the way to Mobile.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But were you aware of this? Was there excitement to participate in to play the Robert Trent Jones Trail? Talk me through that.
There was. I remember we were going on vacation, and we drove up to what's now Hampton Cove, and there was a dump truck, and that was it. There were no houses. There was nothing there. And there was just a rumor at the time. I think it was a rumor that Nicholas was going to build the course. But anyway, I can remember at that there was excitement at that point when there was just a rumor, hey, they may build a golf course here. So yeah, and then that evolved to what it is today, and it's really great because people come from all over the country, to play, and they'll come for 3, 4, 5 days and go from north to south part of the state and play the different courses. So
Yeah.
and then it's great too because a lot of the so when my son was playing, a lot of the events like the state champion, the high school championships. So there's a lot of events now, or they used to. I don't know if they still do. They would play on the trail, so it was an opportunity. People would strive, hey, if we can get to the state championship, then we get to go play at Ross Bridge or go down to Auburn and play go play on some of these courses. And then there's some junior leagues and stuff to play on a lot of the courses. So it's great. Unfortunately, they're really long courses and they're really a bear to walk. But yeah, it seemed like a great thing for the state, and a lot of people play on the trail. Do you play golf?
Yeah, I do. And I remember I was a junior in high school. You're about 10 years older than me. So I was a junior in high school working at a golf range, and somehow in Virginia, I became aware of the Trent Jones Trail. Yeah. And it must have just been built like early 90s, right?
Yeah.
I think is when it was built. And it stuck in my mind as something I wanted to do.
Right.
And, any golfer that grows up, we've talked about, I just had Billy Collins on here from Poker Cows.
Yeah.
And he's playing Pebble. So he's going to go play Pebble for his 4th time.
Yeah.
And he plays in Vegas a lot. And he was telling me the story of Shadow Creek in Vegas.
Yeah.
Where it's a MGM property, and you have to have, be $30,000 in the hole.
Really?
In order to play. And he's like, so you have to be a loser to play here? And they're like, yeah, basically.
Well, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
That's on the weekend. During the week, you can pay $1,000 to play it.
Yeah.
But on the weekend, you have to be an MGM, registered gambler and be, $30,000 in losses.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is weird. But so you grow. I was a huge golf fan. I'm watching TV. I remember John Daly, right, at the PGA when he won that at Crooked Stick, and And so there's all these destinations that in your mind is kind of like this bucket list of, oh, I want to play TPC Sawgrass. I hope to get to play Pebble. I want to play Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
And then, but in my mind, I wanted to play the Trent Jones Trail. And then ultimately in 2010, my buddy gets practice round tickets to the Masters.
Yeah.
And we started looking at this like, well, wait a minute. Normally we do a golf trip every year. Let's think through this. What we should do a golf trip down, in Atlanta, and then we'll go over to watch the tournament.
Yeah.
And then as a part of that, we played a bunch of courses in Atlanta. We decided to come over and play the one in Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And we fell in love with it, of course, because that's one you were mentioning. I think Senior PGA played the Champions Tour, played an event there within the last 5 years. And so then the next year we were back, and then the next year we were back.
Yeah.
And now we've played Mobile, we've played all of Huntsville, of course. I shouldn't say Huntsville, Muscle Shoals, Silver Lakes, Gadsden, I guess, has one. There's only like 3 left.
Yeah.
And those are more of like it might be like Cambrian Ridge or something, like the kind of the central, south central west or
Greenville
eastern
area.
Yeah. There's
What's your favorite one?
I think I like the Fighting Joe, which is
that's my favorite one.
Fighting Joe.
Fighting Joe.
And what's the other one?
The other one's the Schoolmaster.
Schoolmaster. I think I like those.
The Fighting Joe transitions almost like from a links course, and then it goes into transition to something a little different. It's really a challenging where it's got water on one side, and I've never been a huge fan of the tall grass because I hit the ball a yard out of the fairway and I can't find it or something. But the Fighting Joe has been my favorite. So
the Hampton Cove one wasn't my favorite, although there's a hole on the front 9 that's very memorable. Like any of those like really short par 4s that really make you think.
Yeah,
those leave an impression on me.
Yeah,
and there's that par 5 with the barn that's kind of cool.
I like the risk versus reward where you have a par 5 and you can go for it in 2, but if you don't make it, it's going to hurt you. Like put it in the water or something like that. So it's always that risk versus reward.
Yeah. And when we played Silver Lakes, the tornado had gone through there in 2011.
Yeah.
And we played it in 2012, and it was like, whoa. It was very noticeable, of course, that they lost a lot of trees.
That's
and
a challenge.
Just opened up.
That's a challenging course. I think a lot of their greens are kind of elevated with the big mounds, and if you miss the green, it makes you pay.
I think I liked Oxmoor Valley too.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course Ross Bridge is a really nice big championship.
I haven't played
course.
that one yet.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Now Mobile is where they took Lakewood, which was not a trail course, but Lakewood I think was a Marriott resort, and they bought them and made it a part of the trail. So there's that one, and there may even be one more where they bought it, because they needed something like Mobile's. It's separated quite a bit. There's supposed to be some rule with the trail that they're not supposed to be more than like 130 miles apart if you drive, so that you can, realistically get to your next destination. What we do is we play 36 a day. So we'll take the 7 a.m. tee time, then you get a voucher for lunch, then you play the other course on the property, and then we drive to dinner, and then we drive to the next city, get a motel, and repeat, right?
Right.
And so I think they did the Lakewood just to have one additional site down there.
Okay.
And somewhat bridge the gap between, the other one in Mobile. But man, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't play near as much as I used to. But,
did you go like do you go on an annual golf trip or anything like that?
No, not really. Nowadays I play, if I play, it's like a 4-man scramble, like a fundraiser type thing, which is so much fun because if you just hit it in the woods, you just go to the best ball, right? So it's a little bit less stressful.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not, but one of the things that became somewhat of a deterrent for me, I went to go get fitted for like new irons.
Yeah.
And in that process, of course, now there's all the technology, there's all the tracer, and that's become so like commoditized in a way. Like you can go to any driving range and someone's got their little tracer technology and they check their phone. But I almost it almost gave me too many stats, and it kind of scared me because I was like your son. I got down to about a 2, but to go from a 2 and go the other way to be like a +2 or +3, I don't have time for that in life. That's way too much commitment. And so then, I'm just trying to get fitted for clubs. Like, well, your smash factor's off and and the launch angle, and I'm like, I just want to play golf.
Yeah.
I really don't want to get that involved where I'm just constantly thinking about it and tweaking it, and then to what end? I'm getting old enough now. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's hard once you get to that point. You've got to be able to putt and chip if
Yeah.
you want to keep going, right? So, and that just takes a lot of practice.
So your wife was a teacher.
She was.
First grade, is that what you said?
She taught some first grade and kindergarten were the primary 2 grades that she taught for 25 years.
Down in up here in Huntsville?
In Arab.
In Arab,
She
okay.
taught in Arab, yeah.
And then you commuted, essentially.
I did. I drove back and forth from Arab to Huntsville. So, yeah, she was teaching in Arab. She got a job there right out of college. And, we both were from Arab. We actually went to school together in Arab.
Yeah.
And great community, great people, and great place to raise a family. So, yeah, that's where we put down our roots after we got married, and she taught there for 25 years. She took a few years off when the kids were born and stayed home with them. Mm-hmm. But then she taught school for a total of 25 years, and then after that she retired. So then it was like, well, let's move to Huntsville, right? So we're on the south side of Huntsville.
Yeah.
Still close. Her parents are both still alive, and they live near Arab, and mine are as well. So it's not very far drive down there. We really like South Huntsville. So
that's great. So your grandkids still have great grandparents.
They do.
2 sets,
which is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then, so you said like family vacation wise, what's the 30A again? You mentioned that, I believe.
That's a little strip of road between like Sandestin and Panama City Beach.
That's right.
It's like Seaside, Seagrove, and all that. There's just a lot of places down there. The beach is really nice there. The water's really clear. It's kind of a nice area. And then St. George Island is another one that's further east. It's a little bit more secluded, not as many people, and there's no high-rise condos or anything like there. So it's really depends on what you're looking for.
Is that an annual destination?
Yeah, it usually is. At least once a year, we'll go down to. We used to go to Fort Morgan a lot near the Gulf Shores area, and so we either go there or 30A or to St. George Island. So.
Mm-hmm. One thing I learned, we went down to Gulf Shores, so this is only our second summer here, and I learned, we'll go down, and I like to do jet skiing, and sometimes we'll go maybe rent a fishing charter or something like that, get on the water. But Alabama's a no wake zone area,
Okay.
and so it really doesn't do you any good to rent a jet ski. So if you're going to rent a jet ski, do it like at Floribama if you're down in that area.
Yeah.
Because in Florida, you can open up and
You can
do all
whatever,
you want. But like I guess on the Alabama side, no. So if you rent in Alabama, then they're going to make you just no wake, just what do they call that? Troll on out to the once you cross the border, then you can rip
Then
it.
you can go. Huh?
So you got to be careful.
Yeah, no wake on a jet ski. Where's the fun in that, right?
Yeah, you're just kind of idling. It's like, you're going to idle for about 2 miles until you hit the Florida line, and then off you go.
Yeah.
I learned that last year. But man, I just love being in this area.
Yeah, it's nice to have so accessible to drive down to the beach, and we've got great beaches down there. So it's a lot of fun.
Do you so going back to kind of like with the employee culture, is there anything that you do where employees, I don't know, win a stay or like a little vacation package?
Yeah, so we had an Easter egg hunt this
Okay.
year, and I think the one prize was 8 hours of like pay time off type thing.
Nice.
So yeah, we have a pretty good Christmas party. It's a lot of fun. We give a lot of good door prizes away. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever given away like a week stay at the beach or anything like that. But yeah, I think we do the pay time off was something that was pretty cool. So.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about the Christmas party. Like I've known of people that worked on my program, and we would have a nice party,
right?
And they would talk about that as like it was on their list of like discriminators of companies they would consider going to.
Really?
Okay, they have, okay, I'm going to get a good salary. I'm going to have good benefits. Do they have a good Christmas party?
Well,
and they literally would stay.
I don't think that's officially in our benefits pamphlet. I think we should add that, right? We should add maybe pictures from the Christmas party and say, hey, we have a really good Christmas party.
Well, it just shows you how important it is
to
to people.
Yeah.
Because some of it, it's the same thing with, let's say you could either give, let's say someone does a really good job and you could give them $100,
Yeah.
or you could give them four tickets to a Trash Pandas game or to HCFC,
Yeah.
which is probably not going to cost $100.
Right.
But they would rather you put some thought into it, and if
Right.
they're real soccer fans, and you gave them 4 tickets, they would rather have that than you just giving them $100.
Yeah.
Because the gesture is more significant.
Right. Yeah.
And it's those types of things of like the gesture and the Christmas party and buying the door prizes and putting effort into that than just giving someone cash.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of fun at the Christmas party, and we get really good participation too. We have a lot of people show up for that, and we have good door prizes, always good food, and and great places.
Where do you hold it at?
So historically, we did it at the Westin. We started at Valley Hill Country Club on the second floor of the clubhouse there. We used to have it there a lot. But we had it at the Embassy Suites this past year. And
Nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. And it's really nice downtown. I mean, it's pretty much from the picture you have there behind you, that downtown area. So it's accessible for employees to go to things before and after, and then they can stay at the hotel as well if they want to. And
so did you rent that bar space that they have down there in the first level, kind of in their just that big common area?
I mean, it's the rooms they have that you can rent, the larger rooms.
Okay.
We had a dance floor and a DJ and stuff like that.
Nice.
So
Yeah, and like you said, it connects. There's the walkway over to the whole Von Braun complex.
Yeah,
I like
and
the
I'm loving what's going on downtown Huntsville with all the new restaurants and bars and venues and things like that. And they're building all these new hotels, and so it's very walkable down there. So it's a lot of fun to be able to have it down there, and people can go to things before or after if they want. And
have you thought about living downtown?
I have, yeah. I'd love to live downtown. It's funny, we would drive from Arab downtown. It'd be like 50 minutes or something like that to go to a restaurant. Now it takes me about 15 minutes, and I'm like, we need to move downtown. We're too far, So it'd be nice to be down there and just be able to walk to bars and restaurants for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just
everything's too expensive though.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah,
it's amazing what lunch used to cost. I remember like when it was expensive if lunch was like $10.
Yeah,
and then you kind of got used to going to a place where it's $12, and now it's like $20.
Yeah.
A lot of places, right? By the time you get, an entree and 2 sides and a drink.
Yeah.
And I hope it comes back down. I don't think it will.
Yeah, probably not, right? Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant downtown?
So on Sunday for brunch, we go to Humphreys. We love Humphreys. Okay. Microwave Dave starts playing, I think, at about 11, so it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's a really good, they got great food and sit outside. We like Commerce Kitchen.
Yes.
Is good, and Purveyor. Purveyor is a good one. But there's a lot of good restaurants down there. I've heard that the Domain South in their new building is really good, but every time I try to get a reservation there or try to get in there, it's booked. So, which is a good thing, right? So,
yeah. Where is Humphreys?
Humphreys is adjacent to the Bottle.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just on the other side of the Bottle, and it's got It's got an outside area in the back with a stage, so they have live music there frequently, and they've got a good burger bar inside. So, I believe they're owned by the same people that own the Bottle.
Okay. That makes sense. And Commerce Kitchen and the other one just down the Cotton Row are the same.
Cotton Row and Commerce Kitchen are on the same block.
Same ownership,
opposite, right? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I thought I had heard that.
Yeah.
I just discovered sometimes I'll go to breakfast with a guy quite regularly. It's the Standard.
Yeah.
And then the La Esquina Cocina on the corner.
Yes.
Man, that's good stuff too.
Yeah, it is.
And the Melt. I like them all.
Across the street. You got Moe's and then Purveyor's right there. And so, yeah. And what's the new one in the hotel there?
In the Jefferson?
Enthusiast? Is that what?
I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Is it?
I mean, most of those. Beezer's great. Beezer's got great beer and good food. And so I think all those places downtown are good.
Every I work for Mantech, and every other month it seems like there's something going on in town where people will travel down for.
Yeah.
So, for example, coming up, there's like a big FBI industry day in a couple weeks. And that just means like, okay, now I've got to entertain people. And my boss came for AUSA Global at the end of April, and I hit it out of the park as far as where I took him. But we just went to like Taco Mama downtown. I took him to La Esquina Cocina. He likes chips, so he likes, you know, the whole chip and dip type thing. And then I think we didn't do Char. I took him to Blue Plate. I said, you know what? I want you to experience just good Alabama diner. You know, and took him to Blue Plate, and he gave me 5 stars on the my hospitality and my food choices. Yeah, and we went to Jay Alexander's once next to Toyota Field.
You mentioned Char. I like Char. They've got a good steak. They have a good wine selection. So our go-to place used to be Mezzaluna in the south part of town, and they closed. And there was rumor of Mezzaluna opening back up. So if anyone knows where if Mezzaluna is going to come back, let me know, because that used to be our go-to place on Friday night. So
when I came here for the Cyber Summit at the end of September of 21, and I stayed at the Embassy Suites.
Yeah.
So I became a big fan of downtown like right away. And we moved then at Christmas Eve. So it was only 2.5 months later. I literally came home from that trip and I told my wife, this is it. We're moving to Alabama.
Yeah.
We're just going to move to Huntsville and we're going to make this work. But just that area of staying at Embassy Suites, Char, I think was the first restaurant I went to, and like a meeting there. There was like the Brass Tap, and then of course Chewy's is right there. But there's something I really liked about just that area, and I will go to Char a lot. And then the Farm Burger is just across the street,
right? Yeah,
and that's a good healthy burger.
Yeah,
there's just good places everywhere, and there's just tons of burger places I haven't even tried yet that I always notice down by the mall off of Memorial, and it's like Badass Burger or something like that, or
and there's the one on the square downtown.
Tom
Brown.
It has the weird, like strange burgers, like peanut butter burger.
Yeah, every time I've been there, it's really good. Yeah.
Do you do karaoke at all at Miller's?
No, no, I do not do karaoke.
No,
do you?
Yeah. Well, I normally wouldn't say I'm a karaoke person, but I did do it, and I think I've gotten over the fear.
Yeah.
And I went the other day. It was during AUSA Global.
Yeah.
And we had like 8 of us, eight in our contingent, if you will, our delegation, and they wanted to go to karaoke, and I did it. I did 4 songs.
Okay, excellent. I don't know if fear is the right word. It's just I just don't have a very good voice. And
well, fear of my own voice, right? It's one thing to do a podcast and talking to a mic and hear yourself talking.
Yeah.
It's another, and I didn't realize this. Miller's, what they do is they have speakers that are out on the street.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So we didn't know that. So you're in there singing your terrible rendition of a song in karaoke, and then you don't realize the whole public is hearing us.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So any hidden gems? Like, I guess when you have what's your go-to then when you have family come into town or guests come into town?
Yeah.
Are you going to is that kind of like, hey, we're going to go to Humphreys for Sunday brunch, or there's some other things that you must show someone to showcase Huntsville?
Yeah, as far as restaurants go, Char is, if you're going to go out for a night, Char is a really good one.
Yeah.
And again, Commerce Kitchen is we like to sit in the bar area, so that's usually, if it's just me and my wife, we'll go there a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do people recognize you? Have you been running Invariant long enough that they recognize you as David Anderson?
I don't think so. Every once in a while, I'll book a reservation at a restaurant, and then I'll show up, and they'll think it's the Dave Anderson, the musician in town, right? And they'll go, "Oh, I thought you're not Dave Anderson." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I am, but
different Dave."
So
Anderson.
Yeah, it's a different Dave Anderson. So.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Do you have any final thoughts or shout outs or anything you want to cover?
No, not really. Thanks for having me. I mean, it's great. Again, Invariant, things are going good there. We've been in business for over 22 years and just surpassed 100 employees. And we live and work in a fantastic city. Got a great mayor. Mayor Battle's fantastic, and get a lot of support from the Chamber of Commerce. So it's really a lot of fun living in Huntsville and working in Huntsville and running a business in Huntsville. So really, there's so many people, so many companies out there like ours. And we compete on a daily basis, but then again, there's a lot of camaraderie, and we really all work well together, and it's just a really good core group of people here in Huntsville. So anyway, it's a pleasure to be on, and I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate it. I'm supposed to have Mayor Battle on at some point here soon.
Oh, excellent.
Anything you want me to ask him?
Anything? No. No, he's doing a great job. I appreciate everything he does, and he really seems like he really cares. He's out, and every time he's always out,
Yeah.
talking at different events and things like that. And so I think he's doing a fantastic job. I know as we continue to grow so quickly, I tell some people, it's like, okay, we got to stop growing. Let's stop right where we are from a city perspective, which is obviously counterintuitive. That's everyone, you want to grow and continue to add capability and stuff, But yeah, I think they're all doing a great job. So tell him I said great job.
I will. It's interesting. Like, I know that there's always going to be anti-growth. This isn't the first time I've experienced that. The places I lived in Virginia, I always seemed to move somewhere where we kept moving further west because it was just getting so expensive. And every time we moved somewhere, there was like we moved into somewhere, they were like, oh, we don't like this growth, and there's too many houses, and then we'd move, and then same thing, right? It's just because all that growth was going that way.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be opposition to that. But it's interesting now, like just the generation coming up, there's a lot of people who are upset with the number of apartments.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's what younger people want to live in.
Yeah.
Younger people don't, especially if they're young professionals and they're doing okay and what they do, and we have a very highly educated workforce, they don't even want to make their own food. It's a different world. They DoorDash everything. They there's all these conveniences, right? And they don't want to cut the yard.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to do any maintenance. And so, in a way, that's where they want to live.
Yeah.
That's the demand, right?
Well, what's so cool about Huntsville? I mean, I'd say 10 years ago, young people probably didn't want to live in Huntsville.
Right.
But now that's not the case at all. I mean, the direction Huntsville has gone with so many new venues and things you can do. There's a vibe where younger people are interested in staying here and living here. And like the Orion, I mean, that's an amazing venue. And Fish is coming there in July. I don't know if you know Fish, but there's a lot of younger people that love Fish. And I know people. My son's coming from Chicago to Huntsville to
watch it,
to go to a concert. A friend of mine's daughter-in-law is coming from New York to Huntsville to go see a fishing concert. So it's really cool that we have venues now that are really drawing people from all over the country to come here to Huntsville, right? Which wasn't always the case. So
I'm excited when I have Mayor Battle on. So just if you want me to call, I'll call attention to, I interviewed Nadia Nyakasari. She's from RCP Companies.
Yeah.
Who developed Mid-City or developing Mid-City.
Right. The
camp, and then she got Trader Joe's to come.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I know TVG's involved with the Orion, but they did a music audit. Mayor Battle and others got together and said, hey, why don't we be smart about this? And they hired this company out of London to come over here and assess what do we need to do to have a music culture.
Yeah.
And of course, you build a venue, that's one of it, but there was other things that came out of that study.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to part of that's like Mayor Battle is a great mayor.
He is.
And the more and more you hear people say, oh, they're a great mayor, but then when you actually look into the different things that have been done, and it seems like we always do things kind of the right way.
Yeah,
different studies, and just taking the time to plan it through. When I interviewed Chad Emerson downtown Huntsville at the time, and of course I've interviewed him since now in his new role with the soccer team. But they did a lot of visiting other cities, downtowns in the country, to figure out how they wanted to model downtown Huntsville. 10 years ago when he had originally been hired, and so but the music audit was really, really cool, and trying to just draw more artists and musicians here. And I think it's just the beginning of so many things that are going to keep coming. And I just interviewed, I won't post this till next week, but Joey Cece, who works for Breland Companies, and they developed Tom Madison and Cliff Farms and other things.
Yeah.
But he had posted on Facebook in the same Friday night, it was Joe Davis Stadium's home opener for the soccer team. They sell out.
Yeah.
The Orion was sold out for whatever show was going on there. And then, of course, the Trash Pandas were playing, and they were almost sold out.
Yeah.
And then I told him, I said, even if the Havoc were playing, they probably would have sold out.
Yeah.
Because now you have more options for our people and our younger people to do things.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you were
I don't know
saying.
what they have going on at the Orion, but when I went to a Styx concert, whoever it was, and the performers are talking about what a cool venue it is.
Yeah.
And the word is out about the Orion, and so whatever they've done it right. And from a spectator, it's a great venue to go to and watch. But it seems
Yeah.
like from a performer perspective, they're doing something right to attract a lot of really good talent. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I know Dave Matthews was here last year. That's
I
a
know.
big
How about
poll.
that?
That's a huge poll, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure they're working on it all the time. And my only ask, and I'm going to hopefully penetrate these circles, is I want to interview these people when they come into town. Right?
Yeah, right.
I want to be that podcast where, it's part of the promotional circuit. You're going to go on radio and
Yeah.
promote, like, come on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
So Fish is coming. That's cool.
Yep.
Well, David, again, want to thank Flourish for the referral, and I hope the continued best, as they provide good service to you for the stuff that you all need from marketing promotion standpoint. But yeah, really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
And really, that CGIT, that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, it really is, and it's really providing a crucial benefit and a crucial tool that
Yeah.
they're utilizing to support the reduction of gun violence. So
keep it up.
I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
All right, take care.